All right, everybody, welcome back to our second ever podcast for Sprites, Bytes, and Pixels. We may be wearing the same clothes.
We wanted to recreate what we did in the first episode, so we're wearing the exact same clothes. I haven't showered yet.
Me neither. It's been like 2
Yeah,
months.
you definitely haven't. Yeah, it's been 2 months. Yeah.
Wow, you know? My toenails are really long. I can't play games anymore because I can't push the buttons properly.
Yeah, but you should see him scratching records now.
Yeah, it's like...
DJ Danju in the house.
Oh, that's actually a really good DJ name. I'm not going to lie. I like it.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, talking about our podcast, our first podcast, we spoke about who are we? Like, who's Wilson? Who's Robin? We gave an intro. Oh, hi, cat. Hi, kitty cat.
Oh, look, there's a cat.
Yes, so the focus of the first podcast was
You said furry because you just saw a cat.
I know, man. Well, furry cat's cool, but furry people is...
Oh, we're gonna talk about furries. That's gonna be our. Oh yeah,
No, I think that's like a podcast number 50.
This has been a fun podcast.
it was good it was a good ride. We should cut that out.
No.
Okay.
No, you're not cutting out anything. They're gonna hear everything.
All right, so we gave you guys a background in terms of who we are as people, and in this podcast, Wilson has a surprise for me. He told me not to Google this term, and I couldn't even pronounce it properly until maybe like 10 minutes ago.
Yes, and I still think you're failing miserably at
It's because I'm from India, okay? My accent is like this.
That didn't sound Indian at all. That sounded more like Jamaican.
I'm Indian. That's my accent. Like, tell me, what is this? What is this?
That's Indian. That's
Okay.
Indian.
Okay.
Jamaican was the other one sounded a bit more Jamaican.
I tried my best.
But then again, I'm not from either place, so maybe I'm just speaking from media. Or television.
Sure. Or Bollywood. Okay.
So what was the term, Robin?
Metroidvanias.
Yes. So when we were going through different podcast ideas, I came up with...
Wait, we actually planned for this stuff? What?
Yeah, surprise! Yeah, we did... Me and Robin came together, and that's disgusting. Me and Robin spoke about podcast ideas one night, and we came up with a lot of different ideas, and I honestly don't think we've spoken about any of them yet, but...
We just like to talk.
We really do.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But one of the ideas I came up with was Metroidvanias, and when I said Metroidvanias, this guy said...
What is that?
Yeah.
That was British, by the way.
Oh, was that...
What is that?
What is that? What is a Metroidvania?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, whenever I speak about Metroidvanias, Robin gets all British on me.
Dude, what is happening? Like, tell me what's about, fam.
What these Metroidvanias you talking about, Gov? That was terrible.
That's us.
Yeah. So Robin has no idea what a Metroidvania is.
I do not.
So I said, you know what? That's going to be an episode, and I don't want you to Google it. I'm going to talk to you about what Metroidvanias are.
Okay, tell me.
So, Metroidvanias are games where, in order to progress... Well, no. You have these, like, big open worlds. They're usually more or less, like, 2D side-scrollers. So, picture... have you ever played, like, Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
No.
I can't believe... I'm flabbergasted. I
guess that's a podcast.
I'm a little tongue...
See you guys next time.
Yeah, I'm a little tongue-tied right now. I can't believe you've never played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That is, like, for a lot of people, one of the biggest...
What if I said I'm just not a Castlevania fan?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you're probably not an old Castlevania fan, like Castlevania 1.
I like Castlevania on Netflix. I just don't like...
Oh, that was a great anime.
Yeah, I just haven't played Castlevania games.
Castlevania anime was really good. If you guys haven't seen the Castlevania anime...
Alright, so Metroidvania, tell me what's about.
Okay, so you haven't played so you know what Castlevania is like. Okay.
Side-scroller, difficult game.
So picture a game like Castlevania where instead of one path all the way to the boss, you have multiple paths. And these multiple paths take you to different areas. However, some areas are blocked off because you don't have a certain skill. Like, for instance, there's a gate. And in order to get through that iron gate, you need to get a skill that turns you into a mist. I'm speaking about Castlevania Symphony of the Night in this case, because that is a skill that you get. In order to get through an iron gate, you have to get a skill that lets you turn into a mist. And then you can progress into other areas that will have barriers, and you have to get new skills to get to those other areas. And, usually for a Metroidvania, one of the first skills that you get is like a double jump. That seems to be a common thing. So Metroidvania is basically a huge open world game that is closed off until you get more and more skills to get further and further. So you see, in
it's like in Pokemon. If you don't have the HM for cut, you can't get through the trees.
That's right.
Make it to the next level.
That's exactly right.
If you don't have the Poke Flute, you can't wake Snorlax up and advance.
Say Poke Flute again?
Poke Flute.
That's not what I asked. Don't you dare put that on me.
It's a Poke Flute.
I just said say Poke Flute. I did not say anything else but that.
It's a Poke Flute. Poke Flute. So there's some words I just can't say properly, like monitor.
You also can't say anime, apparently. But
enemy.
Yeah, enemy. My enemy.
Yeah.
So now do you know what a Metroidvania is in some extent? Do you think you've played any games like that?
I think I have to some extent. Nothing really pops out at me, but if we're talking about Pokemon, for example, if you don't get certain skill, you can't advance in the game. And I'm sure I've played others. It's just I would have to think. I'm a thinker. Usually
with a Metroidvania, they are a 2D side scroller.
Okay.
So Mario, but that's not a Metroidvania. Have you ever played a Metroid game? Because Metroidvanias, they kind of derive from the word, the game's Metroid and Vania.
Oh,
Metroid.
shit.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Wait, no, actually, I did get the Metroid part. I just got the Vania part.
Seriously?
Seriously.
So you were actually being sincere.
Yeah, well, when I was saying, I thought it was Metroidvanias.
See, I thought you were being sarcastic.
I thought it was Metroidvanias. That's why I couldn't Google it.
Oh.
And now you're saying Metroidvania.
Yeah, Metroidvania.
Now I get it.
So once Castlevania Symphony of the Night came out, it became such a huge seller in what this new type of game was. Because yes, there were games before Metroid or before Symphony of the Night, but they weren't as big or as expansive or as unique in the ways that they did things as Castlevania. Mm-hmm. So shortly after that, people started giving other games similar to the Metroid games and to Castlevania Symphony of the Night the title Metroidvanias, and that's how that genre kind of came into existence. A lot of people don't like that name for them, but honestly, what else are you going to call them? You're going to call them what, 2D side-scrolling adventure games? Because that doesn't really work at all. Mm-hmm. Metroidvanias have a certain aspect about them.
Fair.
But now, they are mostly 2D side-scrollings. Because I don't know if Pokemon would be considered a Metroidvania, but okay. That situation or that example they provide in Pokemon, that's something that is in a Metroidvania, that could pop up in a Metroidvania.
I get it. So, from everything that I've gathered, what you're trying to say is that 2D side-scrollers are typically difficult games.
They can be.
So,
because you have less area to kind of maneuver. You have
you can't hide.
You have a two-dimensional plane.
Yeah, you can't hide. And in thinking of some topic ideas, what we thought about is, what are some traditionally very difficult video games?
Oh, you were segueing.
I was. I
didn't catch on.
There you go.
He's sneaky.
I am.
He's a sneaky deaky.
So when I was thinking, I'm like, what are some tough games? One thing that came to mind for me is that, difficulty is almost subjective. Some people might say it's subjective, but if you're somebody that's naturally inclined towards puzzles, you're not going to find puzzle games difficult.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I like to make games difficult for myself,
Yes, you do.
As per our last podcast.
Yes.
But some of the ones that really resonated for me were games that are older, like Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
So you're referring to like more the retro style.
Yeah, and
games.
I think the reason being is when you, even with Spider-Man, the game that I love so much.
Is that why you're looking at it?
That's why I'm looking at it. So
I love you,
I do
Spider-Man.
So what happens in Spider-Man is there's so many checkpoints. If you're fighting a big boss, and let's say you die, you're not reset at the beginning of that entire chapter. You're reset maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes behind. So you don't lose out on a lot. But when you're thinking about games like Ghouls and Ghosts on the NES,
That's actually Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghouls
Ghouls and
Goblins.
Ghosts was the, I want to say the Genesis.
It's my allergies.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Allergies.
Oh, okay, so the allergies make you say different words.
Yes, like Metroidvanias.
Oh, yes, that's fair. Okay,
flu.
okay. I hope I don't catch that allergy.
So, some of the games that, stuck out to me are Ghosts and Goblins on the Nintendo.
You mean Ghouls and Ghosts?
Ghouls and Ghosts. Mega Man. Battletoads, and I think I just feel as though the Nintendo console on its own was a very tough console.
Yeah, there are a lot of games for Nintendo that were more or less unfair. Because, when you were kids, you would, on a Saturday night or a Friday night after school, you had the weekend and you'd go and rent a game. Because remember what renting was like?
Yeah.
You don't rent games anymore. Like, there are ways to rent games, but it's nowhere near the experience that we had when we were kids. You would go to a store and they had all this selection and you could rent a game, bring it home and bring it back on Sunday and have to worry about school and the homework that you didn't do because you were playing that game. But it was usually one game that you would have, and you would have that game for the whole weekend. So developers would make these games difficult so you would have to play it over and over. And I can tell you, like, I would get a game over screen and I would go right back into that game and die again and after getting further and then go back into that game. And yeah, like, so yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Nintendo games.
Sorry to cut you off there. You know what else made games really tough back then?
Drugs. Alcohol.
Alcohol or drugs, yes, absolutely.
Angry parents.
Yeah. Family Feud.
Am I close?
No. There was no internet easily accessible back then. Nowadays, if I get stuck in a game, I go to YouTube and I'm like, walkthrough for this specific stage, in this specific game, in this specific time frame.
That's fine. Keep going.
Oh, okay. In this specific time frame, you didn't have internet back then. This was like pre-Game Facts. So I grew up using GameFAQs.com to get cheat codes for like Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo.
Shame on you!
Up, down, back, forward, ABA.
What's that?
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, no, but what was that?
I don't remember.
Blood Code? Probably the Blood Code.
I don't know, because it stuck with me.
You do remember that the Super Nintendo one didn't have, no, sorry. That wouldn't have been Super Nintendo, because Super Nintendo didn't have any Blood Code at all.
I don't know what the code was. I remember the code and it worked. I don't know what it did.
Okay.
So this was pre-Game Facts. This is where you had to actually buy like Nintendo Power or subscribe to Nintendo Power, or like video gaming magazines were so prevalent.
Or the phone calls. That phone line.
Yes. Oh yes.
The Nintendo help phone line, I think it was.
Helpline, whatever.
Helpline, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would actually call in and there would be like experts on the phone talking to you about certain situations regarding that game. Like you could ask them a question and they would help you.
So, when you're looking online at difficult games, a lot of people are always referencing the same titles, I find. And like we all understand what are the popular games that are tough. You've played a ton of games. Is there any...
I guess so.
Is there any game that's maybe a little bit more obscure that's difficult in your eyes?
So when we were thinking about or when we came up with the topic of toughest games, one of the ones that quickly popped in my head was Bloodborne.
Oh yeah,
Bloodborne for the PS4, and it's got the kind of that Souls feel to it. I think it's from Software. From Software, who did Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Souls and Souls, like all those
the souls of like Shoe Souls.
Shoe Souls.
Yeah.
Yes, I hated the Michael Jordan boss in that game.
Oh yeah, it's so stinky, man. I hated it.
Very stinky boss.
Yeah.
And Bloodborne is another one of those games where, you know, it's like just one more try, and you get further and further and further. And if you've never played a Souls game,
even the easy bosses kick your ass, man.
yes, the beauty of Bloodborne is that in order to advance your character or grow your character with experience, you actually have to get to the first boss and die. If you don't die at the first boss, everything that you did before that doesn't matter, and you have to go back to the beginning, way back to the beginning, and fight and get to that first boss again.
Yeah.
Because you have to die at the first boss, because that will take you to a new area where you have this I'm not going to ruin it, but you have this thing happen that lets you start to grow your character in attack, in defense, in magic, in health. But you actually have to get to the first boss before you can actually do any of that. If you die anywhere before that, boom, you can't do anything with your character. And that is a huge killer for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to put so much dedication into a game that's just kind of fighting them right at the beginning. Because that first boss, it takes a while to get there. I think you have it's kind of like muscle memory. You die at an enemy, because those enemies will kick your ass. Even the easiest enemies, they'll kick your ass right at the beginning, and you'll die, and you're like, okay, I'll try again, and this time I'll do this. So you'll do that, and you run into like all these other enemies, and they'll kick your ass. But eventually you get better and better, because you know where the enemies are, how they attack, how they move, how many hits you can get on them. But it's a game changer for a lot of people.
It's a game changer for games.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Do you think there's no, let me rephrase this. Why do you think, or do you have this perception that video games are getting easier now than they were before?
If you had asked me this maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I probably would have said yes. But because there are, I guess, indie game developers trying to bring back that feeling and nostalgia of difficult games, I'm going to say no. And hell, Bloodborne and all those other from software games, like for instance the recent one, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, it won best game at the Game Awards last year in 2019, but it's very, very difficult. So because a very, very difficult game won best game, I'm going to say, I don't remember what you asked me, yes or no. I'm going to say that games are still going to be difficult, and they're going to probably work to make games, more games difficult. There will be easy games, yes. Oh, look, special guest, Kat.
So, this brings me to another point. I think the fact that there are so many gamers that just love what they do, and the fact that they've found a way to turn it all into a career through opening up their own production houses and launching titles on Steam, or even launching titles on platforms themselves. I think that's something that wasn't easily accessible before.
Some independent games are only made by one person. For instance, Stardew Valley. Did you know Stardew Valley was made by one guy?
I did not know that.
One guy did Stardew Valley.
Kitty.
And that game has so much. Is it difficult? No, not a chance. It's actually very, very
It's like Animal.
it's like Animal Crossing way, but I'd say it's more like Harvest Moon.
Okay. Yeah.
But one person did that, and there's another one, Dust and Elysian Tale. That was made by one person, and if you ever saw that game and see how beautiful it is, it would blow your mind that one person did that. So I don't even know where I was going with this.
You were just talking about how it's easy. Is it easy? It's more easily accessible for people to launch their own production companies.
Yes, because you can do it as one person. You require a lot of dedication, but you can still do it as one person. Or maybe, these people are just superhumans and we're all incompetent idiots.
Well, you know what? Remember those days where our parents used to tell us, gaming's not going to get you anywhere. Those days are gone.
Yeah, suck it, Mom.
Yeah. So, on that token, so I think there's even the production side is one aspect, but when we're talking about turning video games into careers, and maybe this should be its own podcast, but one thing that I found is the advent of, combining video games with the internet and turning it into esports is something that's really blowing up now too. And from my perspective, what I'm seeing is that there's colleges that are offering scholarships. There's ongoing tournaments that are consistently happening.
I went to a swap not last year. It would have been 2 years ago, and it wasn't really a swap. It was more like a convention, but it was a video game related convention.
Do you want to name it or no? Do you want to name it or no?
I don't even remember what it was called. It was near the end of the year, but I can't remember what it was called. I apologize. It was a good swap. A lot of things going for it. But one of the things why I'm interrupting you was that there was a college there, advertising.
Was it Lambton College, the blue one, or there's Humber?
I think it was actually Durham.
Oh wow!
I think it was a Durham college, but this swap was in like Toronto somewhere.
Wow. Okay.
Or convention. And they were advertising or speaking about like esports. They had an esport league at the college to try and recruit people to like participate or join their team.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like there's more and more like facilities and education and just more aspects to esports than there used to be. It's not just people playing games now.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And I think we're in a very good age in terms of gaming because things are developing so quickly. We have Twitch, we have Steam, we have so many different players in so many different categories. And the one thing that I'm looking forward the most in my lifetime is to have VR that's hyper realistic. So it's right now I know we have PSVR, we have Oculus Rift, but I want something where it's like you physically feel as though it's a reality, whereas right now VR is like.
Have you used VR?
No.
Well, then what are you saying? You haven't even experienced it. That's not fair.
Well, I have used VR.
That's like me. It's like me talking about a shitty sandwich, and I'm telling people how nasty and disgusting that sandwich is, and when they're like, "Have you eaten it?" and I'll say, "No, I've never tried it."
Good analogy.
Well, yes, it is.
That's an excellent analogy.
It's an experience. If you haven't experienced VR,
okay, I have experienced VR. So I've used like the Samsung VR.
I don't know if that's the same.
It's not. I'm trying to find a PSVR. If anybody's got one, that's good. Maybe if you got like Beat Saber or something along those lines.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I don't know how plausible this plan is, but the next time you come over, for us to shoot this podcast, we're going to before that, play some PSVR.
Oh snap!
I have PSVR and I've got some really good games with really good experiences, and I want you to tell me how you feel about that, because I can honestly say PSVR does have some realism to it. It does feel organic. It does feel like you're in another world. It can take you from your couch to the video game world.
Well, I'm excited to try it out. Well, now we have our topic for our third podcast. As we come to an end on our second podcast. Look at this timing, 23 minutes. The last one was 25. So we have 1 minute and 30 seconds to fill. How should we fill this?
We can you do a rap.
I can like maybe wrap something with this piece of paper. Does that count?
Rap? Oh, you mean like a gift wrap?
Yeah.
No. Okay, do a swan.
Dude, I can't do that, man. Yeah, I can do a plane.
This is good for audio. Robin is folding paper. It's
a plane.
A plane. I can't even do a paper plane.
Okay. It's like that artist.
So Robin doesn't know what he's gonna play next that he's beaten Spider-Man. He has considered a game. What was that game again?
Star Wars Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. But I'm going to leave it up to you guys. What do you think Robin should play next? Not me, because I'm playing Dragon Quest XI and I'm super digging it. It's a lot of fun. And but I'll leave that for another podcast.
Great. Well, on that note, I think we're out of time. I'm going to throw this airplane, and you know what? We'll see you guys next time. What was it? Sabata?
No, what?
Sabap.
It's letters. S-B-P.
Sabap.
Spabop!
Oh, that was fast. All right. Later, guys.
Swap up!